In the early 1960s, the Soviet aviation industry sought to create a medium-haul airliner capable of operating in the harsh conditions of Eastern Europe and the USSR. With the need for an aircraft that could handle unpaved runways and unpredictable weather, Tupolev's designers got to work. This is the story behind the Tupolev Tu-154. As the Soviet aviation landscape continued to evolve, a new era was unfolding in the 1960s. The need for a modern medium-range airliner had become pressing, prompting Aeroflot to issue a requirement for a replacement for the aging Tu-104 jet. This ambitious project called for an aircraft capable of carrying a payload of 16 to 18 tons over a range of 2,850 to 4,000 kilometers, cruising at speeds of up to 900 kilometers per hour. Alternatively, it could carry a smaller payload of 5.8 tons over a longer range of 5,800 to 7,000 kilometers, cruising at 850 kilometers per hour. A maximum takeoff distance of 2,600 meters was also stipulated. Conceptually, this new aircraft shared similarities with Western counterparts, such as the British Hawker Siddeley Trident and the American Boeing 727. However, the Soviet Ministry of Aircraft Industry ultimately chose Tupolev's design, which embodied the latest advancements in Soviet aircraft design and best met Aeroflot's anticipated needs for the 1970s and 1980s. This aircraft would become a cornerstone of Soviet civil aviation. The development was led by a series of project chiefs, including Sergei Yeger, Dmitry S. Markov, and Alexander S. Schengert. After years of design and testing, it made its maiden flight on October 4, 1968. Deliveries to Aeroflot commenced in 1970, with freight services beginning in May of 1971 and passenger services following in February 1972. Production continued for decades, with limited production of the M variant still ongoing as of 2009. In total, 1,025 units were built, with 214 remaining in service as of December 2009. The design features 3 rear-mounted, low-bypass turbofan engines, arranged in a configuration similar to that of the Boeing 727, but slightly larger. Both aircraft utilize an S-duct for the middle engine. All models boast a relatively high thrust-to-weight ratio, resulting in excellent performance, albeit at the expense of lower fuel efficiency. This characteristic became increasingly significant as fuel costs escalated in subsequent decades. The cockpit features conventional dual-yoke control columns, while flight control surfaces are hydraulically operated. Inside the cabin, the 6-abreast seating layout creates an impression of an oval interior, with a lower ceiling compared to Boeing and Airbus airliners. It accommodates 128 passengers in a 2-class layout, 164 passengers in a single-class layout, and up to 180 passengers in a high-density layout. A winter version of the layout is also available, where some seats are removed and a wardrobe is installed for passenger coats. Its passenger doors are smaller than those found on Boeing and Airbus counterparts, and luggage space in the overhead compartments is limited. From a design perspective, it shares similarities with the Tupolev Tu-154, featuring a wing swept back at 35 degrees at the quarter chord line. This sweepback angle is identical to that of the British Hawker Siddeley Trident, while the Boeing 727 has a slightly smaller angle of 32 degrees. The wing also incorporates anhedral, a distinguishing feature of Russian low-wing airliners designed during this era. In contrast, most Western low-wing airliners, such as the Boeing 727, feature dihedral. The anhedral design provides Russian airliners with improved resistance to Dutch roll tendencies, albeit at the expense of lateral stability. Initially, it was designed to be operated by a 3-person flight crew, consisting of a captain, first officer, and flight engineer. However, a 4th crew member, a navigator, was soon found to be necessary, and a seat was added on production aircraft. The engine delivers a combined thrust output of 103,000 pounds-force. This helps it lift off from runways and ascend to cruising altitude with ease. In terms of flight performance, it has a maximum operating speed of 1,041 kilometers per hour and a cruise speed of approximately 900 kilometers per hour. It typically cruises at altitudes ranging from 10,000 to 12,000 meters, allowing it to optimize fuel efficiency and minimize turbulence. The range varies depending on the specific variant and configuration, but it can generally cover distances of 3,900 to 6,600 kilometers on a single fuel load. Its fuel capacity is approximately 47,000 kilograms, which is relatively high compared to similar Trijet aircraft. While its performance is impressive, fuel efficiency is somewhat lower than that of its Western counterparts. Between 1970 and December 2016, it was involved in 110 serious incidents resulting in 73 hull losses and 2,911 fatalities. While this may seem alarming, it's essential to consider the context and compare it to other aircraft of its category and time. According to data, this aircraft type has a fatal accident rate of approximately 0.45 per million flights, which is relatively high compared to modern standards. When compared to other Trijet aircraft of the 1970s, its safety record is not significantly worse. It's worth noting that many accidents were attributed to factors such as poor runway conditions, cargo overloading, and pilot error, rather than any inherent design flaws. Additionally, this aircraft type was often operated in challenging environments, such as Siberia and Eastern Europe, where weather conditions and infrastructure were not always ideal. While its safety record is not perfect, it is not significantly worse than that of its contemporaries. With a safety rating of around 85 to 90%, it can be considered a relatively safe aircraft for its time, but its age and relatively high accident rate compared to modern aircraft meant that it was eventually phased out of service in many countries. Many variants were built, including the original model, which first flew in 1972, and the A variant, which added center section fuel tanks and more emergency exits. The B variant, introduced in 1975, featured a new, stronger wing and additional fuel tanks, and also had increased passenger capacity, which reduced operating costs for Aeroflot. The B1 variant carried 160 passengers, while the B2 variant could be converted from a 160-passenger to a 180-passenger configuration. The S variant is an all-cargo version, and the M variant is the most highly upgraded, featuring more fuel-efficient engines and significant aerodynamic refinements. The M variant also has a maximum takeoff weight of up to 104,000 kilograms and can carry up to 180 passengers. Its range is significantly longer than earlier variants, thanks to its improved fuel efficiency. As of August 2017, 44 aircraft of all variants were still in service. A 45th aircraft was spotted flying with Air Kyrgyzstan, but wasn't listed as part of their fleet. Another aircraft, a Polish variant with operational number 102, remains in storage at a military airport. Although fully operational, the government won't use or sell it until the investigation into the Smolensk crash is complete. In January 2010, Aeroflot retired its fleet after 40 years of service. Uzbekistan Airways followed suit in December 2010, and Iranian aircraft were grounded in February 2011 after 2 incidents. The Russian Ministry of Defense grounded all remaining aircraft in December 2016, following a crash that killed 92 people. By October 2020, Russia's final passenger airline to operate this fleet had taken its last remaining aircraft out of service, marking the end of Alrosa's operations.